we did dictation, I read these out loud to you, and then by yourself you drew it, and then you talked to your partner about 2 things you knew and 2 things you didn't know. So now I showed you guys the written directions, and now I'm going to do that, okay? I'm first going to draw a polygon. A polygon is kind of like sharp sides, right? It never caves in. So that's not, this beam here is not, or cell, I don't know. That's not a polygon. So yes, no. And a 3-sided polygon is a triangle. Now, you might be asking, what is a regular? Right? Sometimes I like to buy things that are irregular because I get a discount, right? So if I buy Jordan shorts that are irregular, maybe one side's a little bit longer than the other. A regular is basically number 3. Congruent sides and congruent angles. So let me go ahead and draw basically, what am I drawing? An equilateral triangle. Let's do that. Just going to pick a random point, and then maybe about distance of 4, distance of 4. Here's my triangle. Okay, so how can I show congruent sides? Yeah, congruent sides, you put the lines. I call them hash marks. Everyone say equilateral. Equilateral, equa means what? Equal, lateral means sides. So this is showing equally sided triangle so far. And to show congruent angles, I'm going to draw these little arcs inside, right? If it's both equilateral and equiangular, then you have an equilateral triangle or a regular 3-sided polygon. Okay, let's get more fun. Perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular is you want things to be straight, okay? It forms a T. It basically forms right angles. And right angles are 90 degrees. There is my perpendicular. The bisector is that this purple line is a knife. This base of the triangle is a churro. And it cuts the churro in half. So if you're in my class, geometry class, that was the terminology I would have used. Perpendicular forms 90 degrees. Bisector means to cut into 2 sections. That's my 2 equal sections. Label the congruent sides with 2 units. So the congruent sides are here. So this is a length of 2, 2, and 2. Find the altitude. I think I wrote something there. It was kind of funny. Not funny, but I think of the altitude has to go very high. And the altitude, when you go up higher, is measured like the temperature drops in degrees. So I think of it as the altitude is very similar to the perpendicular bisector. Okay? So that is the altitude. So you have to find that. And then the other part you need to find is just those missing angles. Well, we learned in our geometry review on Friday that the sum of an interior of a triangle equals how many degrees? 180. But if they're all the same, that's something like x plus x plus x equals 180. 3x equals 180. Each of those angles are 60 degrees. Let's write that. 60 degrees. Oh no. That knife, the perpendicular bisector, also cuts in half this angle. So half of 60 is 30 degrees. Well, how do I find the altitude? Well, if I know that this whole length here is 2, and as you guys know, I have many kids, so I can't just break in half a churro. Can I break it in half like this? Would they be happy? No, it's a big fight in my house, right? So if this is a churro length of 2 feet long, then each of these is going to have to be what? 1. Now what I'm trying to highlight here is either the left or the right triangle. So let's redraw it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Length of 4. And I will zoom in for you. I'm highlighting this very special triangle. 30, 60, 90. If this has a side length of 2, and this one has a side length of 1, partner A till partner B, how do you find the third side? And the other person, tell them what is the formula. Ready, set, go. Pablo, how can we find the third side of a right triangle? The Pythagorean theorem. What is the Pythagorean theorem? So if I call this C, I call this A, I call this B, so I put in 2 squared equals 1 squared plus B squared. Class 2 squared is? 1 squared is? Does B squared equal 5? What does it equal? B squared equals 3. You're subtracting 1. And if you take the square root, remember B should equal positive or negative. But class, can the distance of a triangle be negative? No, so we're only putting positive. So B is equal to the square root of 3. What does this tell us? We basically figured out a formula for the 30, 60, 90s. (30, 60, 90). Class, tell me, what is the opposite of the 30-degree angle? What was the side length? 1. I'm going to call that x. 1x. Class, what's across the 60? Radical 3. So the formula is going to be x radical 3. And what's across the 90? 2. So that's going to be 2x. So there's my shortcut or formula that you can use. And I derived that drawing an equilateral triangle. That's where the 30, 60, 90 comes from. And we'll be spending all of the semester looking at these wonderfully special right triangles.